And then it was on to Cross Plains. And we came in from Rising Star.
Yeah, we came down to Rising Star and then across 36, and so we turned up Main Street from the intersection down there at the blinking light. That was our first view of Cross Plains. You can see it was a pretty nice day in front of the library. This is one of the first pleasant surprises for us. Is a banner that says Robert Howard Day, June 14th. Somebody had created a historical marker about Robert Howard and put it in the library window, and there were some Howard books. You can see a copy of Night Images and Cull, and that's Mark Kimes and Tom Kovacs standing in front of the library. Bill, wow.
How about them legs, huh?
And the lady he's talking to is Joan McCowan, the first friend we made here in Cross Plains. The gentleman in the funny European pants is Steve, with his back to you, is Steve Gillardy, and then next to him, that's Vern Clark in the visor, who also has some of those cute little shorts. Exactly. And next to him is Glenn Lord, and then Nancy.
Did Glenn ride in the van with you guys?
No, he wasn't that silly. Actually, no, his wife's got relatives in Brady, and they had stayed with them, and he drove up from there and met us in Cross Plains. So that's the Robert E. Howard house as it looked when we visited in 1986. See this great huge tree here? That's a pecan tree, and boy, that thing put out pecans like crazy. And in about 1994, there was a tornado that came through. It completely uprooted that tree and knocked the house next door, the Butler house, it knocked it off its foundations and basically busted it up real bad, and it couldn't be restored, and so they tore it down, and that's why we have the pavilion now next to the Howard house. Is that standing on the Butler lot. That tornado just missed by that much. It tore up that tree in the Howard yard and tore up the Butler house. If it had gone a little bit.
The house lost a lot of shingles off the roof. They had to redo the house, but the roof on the house anyway. But that was our first look, and believe me, it was like going to Mecca. You know, coming down the road there, and all of a sudden you're right there. We had seen pictures of it before, of course, from Rusty, and then there were pictures of it in Dark Valley Destiny. But man, just rolling up on that house, wow. I was speechless. We were all speechless. We wanted the grounds, posed on the porch.
Was this Bill, was it private property then?
It was. It was owned by Floyd Carter, and he graciously let us walk the grounds. His wife wasn't feeling well, and we didn't want to intrude on.
Well, they were going to let us go in the house, but then his wife came down sick, and we couldn't go in.
But we get to walk the grounds, and that's most of the crew there, except for.
Well, I'm not in there, and Vern's there, but I'm not there.
Rusty and I were around the house working the women. But we had, there we are, it's right outside of Bob's window. And we're just chit-chatting, and I was absolutely fascinated, of course, of being there in the first place. But that these two ladies were just unbelievably gracious to us. And they treated us like old friends right from the get-go, and just you can't say enough good things about Billy, Ruth, or Joan. They're two dear, sweet ladies. We miss them, you know, quite a lot. And there's Rusty. Look at that. What a good-looking guy.
There are a few less pounds on there.
Yeah, and as the next photograph will show you, me too. Proof positive I was there. Me and my shorts.
That looks photoshopped, doesn't it?
Yeah, those shorts were a lot longer. And from the house, we got to go out to a full-blown Texas barbecue.
That I still can taste that brisket. It was the best brisket I ever had in my life.
Yes,
Just melt on your tongue.
The Friends of the Library, for some reason, they thought we were a band of international scholars.
I wonder who gave that idea.
We were referred
Wasn't me.
that way. We're referred to that way in the newspapers.
They saw those shorts and they knew that we had to be scholars. Nobody with any fashion sense could. I'm here to, man. But we were there, and Jack Scott,
In the cool shades there.
yeah, exactly. One of the more famous products of the Cross Plains. He was there, and he and Glenn were just chit-chatting away. Well, we had a great time, and in the background you can see Vern working the women, but you can also see the women working the man from Australia.
Everybody who introduced themselves happened to me. I think it happened to everybody. You're running the gauntlet when you first get there. Hi, I'm Rusty Burke. I'm from Washington, D.C. Hi, I'm Bill Cavalier. I'm from Rolling Prairie, Indiana. And everybody says, that's nice. Where's the one from Australia?
Absolutely. Where's the man from Australia?
Well, later, I'll try to keep this story somewhat clean. Later, back down in Brownwood at our motel, we're talking about this. Steve Gillardi from Switzerland said, I kept saying, I'm Steve Gillardi, I'm from Zurich, Switzerland. They would say, that's nice. What's so effing nice about it? I was like, that's just their way of saying, where's the guy from Australia? Because they would ask, where's the guy from Australia? But as we were recounting all of this, of course, we had a few libations loosening our tongues and making the conversation flow. And every time we'd get around to him, hi, I'm Bill Cavalier from Rolling Prairie, Indiana. Hi, I'm Bill Indiana from Rolling Prairie Cavalier. And it just keeps kind of getting messed up, and eventually it was, hi, I'm Indiana Bill the Rolling Prairie Cavalier. And that's where Indy comes from.
That's how I got my name, Indiana Bill. Yeah. And I have to credit both Rusty but primarily Vern Clark for giving me that name, and it rang a chord with me, and I like the Indiana Jones movies. And
next thing we know, he's wearing a fedora and a leather.
absolutely. Yep.
And the shorts.
And the shorts.
So you go with what works, and it's always worked for me. So that's one of the good things, one of the very good things about that have come out of First Howard Days.
Next day, we got up and managed to make it over to Howard Payne University in time to actually meet Charlotte. The head of the leonine head of hair you see over here on the left was the president of Howard Payne I'm sorry, that's how I talk. The leonine head of hair that you see on the left was the president of Howard Payne University, who officially welcomed the visiting band of scholars.
He came out to our van down the steps of the university. Welcome.
Everything but a red carpet. And we traipsed on up to the into this room in the library, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with the history of the Robert E. Howard Library research, or the research into Robert E. Howard's library, but Charlotte was the first to actually publish a listing of Robert E. Howard's library. She and Glenn Lord did theirs at roughly about the same time. His appeared in an APA called the Hyperborean Legion, or League. Charlotte's appeared in a publication that she and her husband did called Paperback Quarterly, and that was the first listings. She worked at Howard Payne as an English professor, so she had access to the library and their collections, and she knew Corrine Shields, who was the librarian who really did the research on the accession lists. So it was interesting. I had asked Charlotte if she would be willing to talk to us about her research on that, and that's what we were doing that morning.
Believe me, I had no idea that an English professor could be such a babe.
And Bill fell in love with her voice as much as anything. If you ever got a chance to listen to Charlotte, it's honeysuckle and magnolias. It's the southern voice.
We were all a little younger then. Marcy and I had lunch with Charlotte in '05.
Yeah.
And believe me, she still looks exactly the same as she did. but we've gotten a little bit older.
What do you mean rescued from the stacks?
Charlotte actually went through the stacks at Howard Payne and found all the Howard books that had the Robert E. Howard book plate in them. She physically searched them out.
At some point, the books had all just gone into general circulation, and that's why there's only, Rob, how many books are left?
68.
68 books out of the original 300 that were donated. The rest of them have all wandered off at some point over the years. So Charlotte, knowing about Howard's importance, went through and started pulling every book she could find with the book plates and got them all in one spot now. So there's the Robert E. Howard Memorial Collection now is kept in one rare book room. But you can get into it. You just have to talk to the librarians and they'll let you in there. They'll keep an eye on you probably. But they'll let you. And there you have Charlotte Lachlan, Glenn Lord, like I said, two of the first listings of Robert E. Howard's library, and then Rusty Burke, Robert E. Howard's bookshelf. I took advantage of all their hard work and added a little more of my own. So if we had Steve Eng in that picture, we'd have a pretty complete picture there, I think.
Absolutely. The fellow on the right is Kent Biffle. He was a reporter for one of the Dallas papers. And he had come out, he had heard that there was a gathering. He had come out and he followed us around for a day, went out to the barbecue with us and came back to Howard Payne with us. And seemed to be a fairly enthusiastic person for our cause. And lo and behold, he went back and he wrote an article about all these weird characters who showed up to look at Robert E. Howard's house and ended up calling Robert E. Howard. He wondered why people had come so many miles to see someone who was basically a hothouse flower. Well, we had a few other names that we made up for Mr. Biffle. Mr. Baffle.
Kent Baffle was one of them.
He baffled us by...
The headline on his story in the Dallas News was "Conan Creator's Life Didn't Match Tales." And Bill Fullwater wrote, "The reporter was disappointed to learn that Howard's life didn't match his fantasies. No doubt he would have preferred to hear that Howard ran around with a broadsword decapitating his fellow citizens at crossroads."
But luckily we survived that scathing bit of journalism. Then we came back to the Cross Plains Library for they hosted a little feat for us.
An open house thing.
And an open house for us, and once again we were a band of international scholars. And
the library was packed.
It was, yeah.
Scores of people here waiting to see us. I think they were waiting to see the guy from Australia.
Yeah, that's pretty assuring. But library's changed a little bit since then. But we got to hang out. We got to look at the original manuscripts as typed by Robert E. Howard.